Hey YouTube, it's Desiree. This week we're talking about why your routine and your writing process matters. Writers have a structure to create their work. There's the basic process that all writers will experience, which is 1. Plotting, pre-writing, brainstorming and or outlining. 2. Drafting, where we put our ideas into sentences and paragraphs. 3. Revising, we reread our work. We add, remove, and rearrange sentence and words. 4. Editing. We read our work all over again and clean up any grammatical errors, and we tie the story together the best way we can. 5. The ultimate goal, publishing. We can all become better writers. The more we write, the better our writing gets. We just need to find a system that unlocks our creativity and gets us to do the work. We need a process. Intention is also everything, so setting up a routine will give us our best chance for success. If writing and finishing a project is what we really desire to do and achieve, then we have to carve out the time and the energy for the work in progress as we would a work project. Treat your main character as a client, and their story is the work project that needs attention. We already put that energy out for others easily, as well as our jobs out of necessity. But we also have to look at our personal projects seriously. Within reason, take care of your body and your mental health first. I've already shared on how to write a book for beginners as an idea or a method to try, because in the end, there is no one way of doing things. Here are some tips on figuring out what your writing process and routine could be. Let's start from square one. Sit down and lay it all out. First, ask yourself, where do I have time? Where can I make time? Create a structure that is forgiving. If you are feeling healthy enough, make this season a time where you take your writing seriously. As multi-passionate creatives, we have our heads floating with a million different ideas. So we need to create a boundary for when we're engaging and committing to a certain project. We need some type of structure. Even if it's a simple process with only small increments of time here and there, it's your routine. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about it as long as it works for you. Acknowledge where you struggle. What keeps causing you to procrastinate? How are you filling your creative well? Are you reading? Are you writing to practice via prompts, short stories, essays, or poems? Do you need to check out a book on plotting from your local library? Whatever is blocking you, take a step back and see where you need to fill your well. Whether it's with entertainment, knowledge, engagement with something that's going to shake your creativity loose and inspire you again. We can't create from an empty well. Remember progress over perfection. Quality will improve in time and with every new pass of your story. Speed also isn't important. We're all on our own timelines, and if it takes us longer than others, so be it. This is your unique journey. Time and experiences will only add to our journey in the future. Your process will be discovered by doing it and succeeding. You can't know what process will work for you unless you test them out. Make up your own, or incorporate from other writers that you have seen who have shared theirs. Creating a simple structure for yourself in your art will give you something to fall back on when you find yourself stuck or unmotivated. That's why your routine and your writing process matters. There will be days, as I'm sure you know, where you just don't want to, or you feel lost on where to start, so you keep procrastinating. Focus on finding out what works for you over the speed it'll take to finish your work in progress. You want a healthy system that won't burn you out. We have to be practical with what will work for us. When the pandemic happened, I created a space that would inspire me to sit at my desk every day and work. Especially since going to coffee shops wasn't an option anymore. Sometimes we just need to change our space around to inspire productivity. Or you might have to change locations altogether. Also, don't be afraid to change your routine and process along the journey of your work in progress. Life circumstances will cause things to change. So if you found a process that worked in the beginning, but suddenly just isn't working anymore, simply change up your process again. Creativity is unlocked in many unique ways. Music, crime shows, books, taking long drives, contemplative thinking in the shower. Embrace the mess and enjoy the creative process. If you're not enjoying it, you may need to take a step back and find out why you're writing in the first place. It's a job, a project, but we should enjoy the journey of creating. Here are some ideas on how to discover what will work for you. Ask yourself, when do you creatively flow best? Mornings, afternoon, or evenings? Personally, I'm a night owl. My brain creatively wakes up in the evenings. Because of this, I can focus on my day job tasks in the day, and then later on in the evening, I can transition into creating once I've taken some time to decompress from the day. Learn to understand how your body works energetically. If you're most awake and alert in the mornings, afternoon, or evenings, work with that, not against it. Structure your writing around those moments. Also, ask yourself, how long can you focus on one task at a time? For me, using the Pomodoro technique is extremely helpful. You've probably heard of it. You break up a task into, let's say, increments of 25 minutes with 5-minute breaks in between, which breaks up a task like writing into smaller doses, which is helpful so we don't get overwhelmed, since writing a book is a big task. For me, if I can get a minimum of 1,500 words every time I sit down to write for the day, I consider that successful. Are you a one project at a time person, or can you work on multiple projects? I tend to be a one project at a time person. My focus can only be on one story, one world, and set of characters. But some people thrive on working on multiple. If you know that works for you, set a routine around switching projects throughout the day or week. Are you someone who enjoys plotting and outlining before you start writing? Or do you like to just start on page 1 and whatever happens, happens? If outlining, plotting, map making, or mood boarding sparks joy in you, then do those things. Enjoy that journey of building and discovering your world, your characters, and your story. If those are not your jam, I'd still encourage you to have a notebook so you can jot everything down that comes to mind and work chapter by chapter, scene by scene, breaking up your story in your head into 3 basic parts: beginning, middle, and end. Accountability. Once you've set a routine for this season or quarter, you want to find ways to be held accountable. For me, it's here on YouTube. I'm putting myself out there and I'm sharing my goals. By doing so, I feel extra motivation to get them done and come back with news on their success. I also have critique partners who expect more of my chapters, so I feel motivated to get the story done for them. Social media is another great subliminal for your brain. I post about my writing journey on socials. Even if no one's paying attention, I feel that there are a bunch of eyes on me to complete said goals. It gives me a little fire under my butt to achieve them. All in all, play and switch things around until something clicks, and you find yourself feeling more productive as time goes on. I'll stress this again. Work with your mental health, not against it. This whole video is an encouragement for those who are in a safe space to pursue making their writing process matter. So what's my process? I'm actually in the place of reworking what that looks like for me. Life has thrown off my days into a different routine as of late. So it's a matter of asking myself, how can I fit a routine, a structure for my writing in my day-to-day? I know I'm nocturnal and my creativity flows better in the evenings. So it works out for me that my day job tasks are in the morning and afternoon. When it is time to write, my process is starting with little things. I'll light a candle that tells my brain we're creating a writing space to work. I'll usually have a cup of coffee with me and I'll make it all fancy with the heated foam and cinnamon on top. See, what I'm doing is I'm setting triggers for my brain to relax and find my creative space. My process tends to vary between projects. I've heavily outlined and plotted my sci-fi dystopian and post-apocalyptic stories. I've lightly outlined and plotted my romantic comedies. This time, I went by the seat of my pants, and just from an image, I started writing this story and slowly it unraveled before me. When I reached Act 2, that's when I took out my trifold science board, which I call my plot board, and divided it into technically 4 parts, which I learned from Sarah Cannon. Act 1, Act 2.1, then we have the midpoint, Act 2.2, and then Act 3. And with Post-its, I mark scene by scene, chapter by chapter. I also always have a notebook that's dedicated to my work in progress. So I take it out and find the last page, and either I'm working on a new chapter or I'm working on finishing a chapter. I always jot the chapter on the top of a blank page and then ask myself, what needs to happen next in this chapter? If I don't know yet, then that's when I ask myself what if questions. What if my character does this or goes here? What would happen? I'll keep with that train of thought, brain dumping the ideas into the notebook until something clicks and the chapter lays itself out before me. Next, since I'm an edit as I go writer, I like to get back in the flow of the story, so I usually do a reread. I'll go back to the beginning of a chapter, or if it's a new one, I'll read the previous one to get back into the story. With the notes I made in my notebook in the back of my head, while rereading, I start formulating ideas for how the next part of the story will go. When I'm ready to write, I'll either find a hosted live stream for writing sprints or find Pomodoro timers on YouTube to play. Sometimes when I'm really in the flow, I'll find ambient fall or coffee shop scenes or rainstorm or outdoor sounds, and I'll just play those in the background while I work. So I'll work scene by scene until my juices run out. When I finish writing for the day, I don't read back what I wrote on that day. I let it breathe, and then the next time that I sit down and write, that is when I'll reread what I previously wrote. And that's it. That is my basic routine when I'm drafting a novel. Your routine and your writing process matters because your writing matters. If something matters to you, you'll put the effort in and make it work for your day-to-day. Creating that structure is what's going to help us when we're feeling lethargic and unmotivated. Having something to follow will make it easier on those low days. In the end, it's an investment that we believe is worth making. Treat it as such. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on next week's video. You guys can find all of my links below for my coffee. It's not coffee, it's Ko-fi page, but you can buy me a coffee on the Ko-fi page. And you will also find a link to my blog, which has a link to my Redbubble shop where there is some reader and writerly merch. Remember, if there's any topic you guys want me to touch on, leave them in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all very soon.